Once upon a time, in the deep and lush forest of Ghana, there was a village that was known for its prosperity and abundance. The village was called Asanteland, and it was blessed with fertile soil, bountiful crops, and healthy livestock. The people of Asanteland were hardworking and happy, and they enjoyed the fruits of their labor. But behind the facade of wealth and joy, there was a hidden secret that had haunted the village for generations. It was a secret that involved a curse that had been cast by the ancestors of one of the villagers, a woman named Akua. Akua was a woman of remarkable beauty and grace. She had inherited the features and the charm of her ancestors, who had been the original owners of the land that Asanteland was built on. She had a cheerful laugh, a warm smile, and a talent for cooking, and she was well liked by everyone in the village. But despite her popularity and her attractiveness, Akua did not have a husband. It was not for lack of suitors. Many men had courted Akua, hoping to make her their wife. They had brought her gifts of gold, cloth, and beads, and they had praised her virtues and her skills. But every man who had proposed to Akua had met with a terrible fate. Some had fallen ill with mysterious diseases, others had lost their livestock to wild animals or thieves, and some had suffered from bizarre and unexplained accidents. The villagers said, "Akua is cursed." They believed that any man who married her would face misfortune and calamity. But Akua did not know the reason for her curse. She did not know that her ancestors had been wronged by the villagers a long time ago, when they had settled on the land that belonged to them. They had been driven away from their homes and their farms, and they had lost their animals and their crops. They had been forced to flee to the forest, where they had lived in poverty and misery. They had been angry and bitter, and they had placed a curse on the village that had wronged them. The curse had been passed down through generations, affecting every man who had tried to wed Akua, the last descendant of the original owners of the land. So the men in the village avoided marrying Akua. They preferred a woman with a hunchback or one who resembled a warthog over taking a risk with the curse. Akua's parents loved and supported her, but they were helpless. They had tried everything to lift the curse, from performing ceremonies to consulting the elders, but nothing worked. They had prayed to the gods and the ancestors, but they had received no answer. Akua did not give up hope. She lived well, helping her parents on the farm and making delicious meals for the villagers. She also started a business, selling her famous peanuts too at the market. She earned a good income, and she was generous with her money. She donated to the poor and the needy, and she helped the orphans and the widows. But she wanted more than money. She wanted love and companionship. One day, a stranger arrived in Asanteland. He was a brave and handsome hunter from a nearby village. He had heard about Akua's beauty and the curse that supposedly followed her, but he did not believe in such things. He was drawn to Akua's kindness and her bright eyes, and he decided to marry her, despite what the villagers said. Akua, however, was hesitant. She did not want to cause harm to the stranger, whom she learned was named Kofi. She told him about the curse, and about the fate that had befallen the men who had asked her to marry them. She told him that she did not want him to suffer, and that he should look for another woman. But Kofi was steadfast. He told Akua that he did not fear the curse, and that he trusted in his love for her. He told Akua that he would rather perish than be without her. He told Akua that he wanted to make her his wife, and that he would do anything to make her happy. Akua, touched by his words, eventually agreed to his proposal. She felt a spark of hope in her heart, and she wondered if Kofi could be the one to break the curse. The villagers, however, were furious. They warned Kofi about the curse, but he ignored them. They told him that he was making a mistake, and that he would regret it. They told him that he was putting himself and the village in danger, and that he should leave Akua alone. But Kofi did not listen. He loved Akua too much, and he was determined to marry her. The wedding day came, and the villagers gathered to watch the ceremony. But just before it started, a loud thunderclap filled the sky, and a violent storm erupted. The rain poured down, the wind howled, and the lightning flashed. The villagers took this as a sign that the curse was real, and that the gods and the ancestors were angry. They begged Kofi to change his mind, and to cancel the wedding. Hey listeners, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. By subscribing, you never miss out on our latest stories and updates. Your support helps us continue bringing you more captivating tales from around the world. Thanks for being part of our community. But Kofi stood firm. He took Akua's hand, and he married her, in front of everyone. He kissed her, and he vowed to love her, for better or for worse. He said, "Akua, you are my wife, and I am your husband. No curse can separate us, no storm can stop us. We are one, and we will be happy." Akua, moved by his courage and his devotion, said, "Kofi, you are my husband, and I am your wife. No curse can separate us, no storm can stop us. We are one, and we will be happy." They made a new home on the edge of the village, away from the prying eyes of the villagers. At first, everything seemed fine. Kofi would go hunting every day, and Akua would make tasty meals for him. They were happy and in love, and they did not care about the curse. But soon, strange things started to happen. Kofi's hunting trips became less productive, and he often returned empty-handed. He could not find any animals in the forest, or he would miss his shots. He became frustrated and discouraged, and he wondered what was wrong. Akua's cooking, though still delicious, seemed to lose its appeal. Kofi began to lose his appetite, and he could not finish his food. He became thin and weak, and he wondered what was wrong. They felt a dark cloud hanging over their heads, and they could not shake it off. They felt a heaviness in their hearts, and they could not cheer up. They felt a distance between them, and they could not bridge it. They felt a curse, and they could not break it. The villagers, who had been watching from a distance, nodded their heads in agreement. "We warned you," they said. "The curse is real. You should have listened to us. You should have left Akua alone. Now you are paying the price." Kofi refused to give up. He loved Akua too much, and he was determined to find a way to break the curse. He said, "Akua, we will not let the curse defeat us. We will not let the villagers mock us. We will not let the storm scare us. We will find a way to break the curse, and we will be happy." Akua said, "Kofi, we will not let the curse defeat us. We will not let the villagers mock us. We will not let the storm scare us. We will find a way to break the curse, and we will be happy." One night, as they lay by the fire, Akua told Kofi about her history. She told him about the many men who had tried to marry her, and about the weird events that had afflicted them. She told him about the ceremonies and the consultations that her parents had done, but to no avail. She told him about her loneliness and her longing for love. Kofi listened carefully, and then he had an idea. He remembered that the village elder, a wise and old man named Opanion, had once told him a story about the origins of Asantaland. He remembered that Opanion had mentioned something about a curse that had been cast by the ancestors of one of the villagers. He wondered if Opanion knew more about the curse, and if he could help him break it. The next morning, Kofi went to see Opanion. He greeted him respectfully and told him about his marriage to Akua. He told him about the storm that had interrupted their wedding, and about the strange things that had happened since then. He told him that he loved Akua and that he wanted to break the curse. Opanion listened to Kofi's story and nodded his head wisely. "I know the source of the curse," he said. "It is not Akua who is cursed, but her family's ancestors." He then told Kofi the full story of the curse. He told him how Akua's ancestors had been wronged by the villagers a long time ago when they had settled on the land that belonged to them. They had been driven away from their homes and their farms, and they had lost their animals and their crops. They had been forced to flee to the forest, where they had lived in poverty and misery. They had been angry and bitter, and they had placed a curse on the village that had wronged them. The curse had been passed down through generations, affecting every man who had tried to wed Akua, the last descendant of the original owners of the land. But there is a way to break the curse, Opanin said. You must bring the villagers together and ask them to apologize to Akua's ancestors. You must also compensate for their past injustice by giving Akua and her family some of the land and the animals that were taken from them. You must perform a ritual to break the curse, with drums, dances, and food. Only then will Akua's ancestors be satisfied, and the curse be lifted. Kofi was resolved to break the curse. He thanked Opanin for his advice and went to gather the villagers. He told them about Opanin's revelation and asked them to join him in breaking the curse. The villagers, ashamed of their ancestors' actions, agreed to do as Kofi said. They apologized to Akua's ancestors and gave her and her family some of the land and the animals that were rightfully theirs. They also prepared for the ritual to break the curse. The ritual was a big event, with drums, dances, and food. Akua and Kofi led the ritual, and the villagers followed. They sang songs of praise and gratitude to Akua's ancestors, and they asked for their forgiveness and blessing. They celebrated the union of Akua and Kofi, and they wished them happiness and prosperity. Akua's ancestors were satisfied, and the curse was finally broken. From that day on, Kofi and Akua lived happily ever after. They had many children, and their farm flourished. Kofi's hunting trips became more productive, and Akua's cooking regained its appeal. They were healthy and joyful, and they shared their love with everyone. The villagers, who had once despised Akua, now praised her as a hero. They realized that she had been the key to breaking the curse that had plagued their village for so long. They realized that she had brought good fortune and prosperity to Asantaland. They realized that she had been a blessing, not a curse. And Akua, the woman who had once been considered cursed, became known as the giver of good fortune and prosperity to the village of Asantaland. Hey listeners, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. By subscribing, you never miss out on our latest stories and updates. Your support helps us continue bringing you more captivating tales from around the world. Thanks for being part of our community. Don't forget, you can overcome any difficulties with resilience, kindness, and true love. Trust yourself, be brave, and don't lose hope. Your future is not determined by your past. Accept your journey and resist adversity. You can make a better tomorrow.